If feminine energy is so powerful, why do so many women feel powerless in love? You've followed the advice. You've been strong, independent, successful. You've done everything right. And still, somewhere deep down, you wonder why you're overlooked, passed over, or replaced. It's not just you. There's a quiet ache that so many women carry but rarely name. The feeling that no matter how much you achieve, it's never the thing that makes you chosen. Here's the truth no one talks about. Being feminine isn't about how you look, how sweet you sound, or how perfectly put together you are. It's about energy, presence. And there's one kind, the kind Carl Jung quietly mapped out decades ago, that men don't just want. They're pulled toward it, without understanding why. Stick with this. What you're about to hear might change the way you see yourself, forever. You were taught to be strong, to never need anyone, to achieve, to impress, but not to feel. And it worked for a while. You learned how to show up polished, composed, in control. You chased goals. You earned praise. You became the woman others admired, even envied. But deep down, when it came to love, something didn't add up. No one tells you that the more armor you wear, the harder it is for someone to reach you. There's a kind of war happening inside you, quiet, invisible, but exhausting. On one side, there's the part of you that wants to relax, to surrender, to feel safe, being soft. On the other, there's the voice that warns you, don't. You'll look weak. You'll be forgotten. You'll lose your edge. This is what Carl Jung called the shadow, not evil or dark in the way most people think, but simply unlived potential. The parts of you that you were told not to show. The real you, edited down to fit a mold. Maybe you recognize her, the woman who has her life together. Smart, self-sufficient, high standards. She's not needy. She never asks for help. She makes sure no one ever sees her messy. But somehow, she's always the one left wondering why the connection faded, why he stopped trying, why she never feels fully chosen. You see, when you've built a life on proving yourself, it becomes easy to believe that being enough means being more competent, more confident, more impressive. But that belief is a trap. Because feminine energy, real feminine energy, isn't about performing. It's not about what you can do for someone. It's about who you are when you're not trying to be anything. Here's the paradox. The same strength that makes you independent can also harden you. Like steel, you become sharp, precise, unbending. But what happens when someone tries to get close? They feel that edge. And instinctively, they pull away, not because you're unworthy, but because they can't feel invited. That's the secret no one tells you. There's a kind of feminine energy that doesn't weaken you, it liberates you. It doesn't scream for attention, it draws it in like gravity. It doesn't try to control, it trusts. And it's not loud, but it's unforgettable. Men don't consciously say, I want that kind of woman. Most of the time, they can't even explain it. They just feel it. In her presence, they relax. Their defenses drop. They feel more like themselves. Not because she's catering to them, but because she's rooted in herself. And that's what makes her different. You may have hidden that part of you so long. You forgot it was even there. But it's not gone. It's waiting. Beneath the ambition. Behind the people-pleasing. Inside the moments when you're tired of performing, there's a quieter voice, your voice asking, what if I don't have to prove anything anymore? And that question, that's where everything starts to shift. So before you go blaming yourself or chasing another version of better, pause, breathe. This invisible war you've been fighting is not a flaw. It's a clue, a sign that your feminine essence, the real you, is ready to come back to life. Not the polished version, not the perfect mask, but the part of you that knows how to receive, how to trust, how to let go of the armor and still feel safe. The part of you that was never broken, just buried. Are you ready to uncover her? There's a certain kind of woman who lingers in a man's memory. She isn't always the most beautiful in the room. She isn't always the loudest, the flashiest, or the most impressive. But she's unforgettable. Not because of how she looks, but because of how a man feels in her presence. He might not even realize it at first. But something in him relaxes around her. Something opens. It's not excitement, not lust, not at first. It's something quieter, something that reaches beneath the surface and speaks to a part of him he didn't even know was starving. Carl Jung called it the anima, the feminine image in the male psyche, a symbol of emotional wholeness, of creativity, of vulnerability and depth. Men don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with reflection, the woman who awakens something lost or hidden inside them. She doesn't try to prove anything. She doesn't compete. She doesn't perform. She just is. The first thing you notice about her is that she's fully present, not distracted, not overthinking. When she listens with her entire body. When she speaks with intention. She isn't rushing to fill silence. She's at ease in it. Her presence creates space for others to drop their masks too. That's the first sign. Presence, the kind that doesn't demand attention, but draws it like breath. Then there's something else. She lets others lead sometimes, but not because she's weak or unsure. It's because she knows when to surrender and when to stand still. She can lean into someone's strength without abandoning her own. She can be held without disappearing. And that kind of trust, it's rare. It unsettles some people. They don't understand how a woman can be that open and that self-possessed. How she can move with such softness without losing her shape. That's the second sign. She allows connection, but she never loses her center. And maybe most powerful of all, she feels everything. She doesn't numb it, doesn't apologize for it. If she's joyful, she laughs from her belly. If she's grieving, she lets the tears fall like rain. She doesn't filter her emotions to make others comfortable, but she doesn't weaponize them either. She feels, and in doing so, she gives permission for others to do the same. That's the third sign. Emotional freedom. Not chaos, not drama, just presence with whatever is real. She's the kind of woman who doesn't chase love, she embodies it. You don't win her over by trying harder. You feel drawn to her because she mirrors back something that feels ancient and essential. She reminds you of who you really are. This is not about being better than other women. It's not a competition. It's a remembering. Somewhere along the way, many women learn to trade in their softness for survival. But this kind of feminine energy, it doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from unlearning, from shedding the layers of should and not enough until what's left is real, raw, and magnetic. She doesn't need to say much. Her energy speaks louder than words. And here's the truth that few people say out loud. Men don't always know why they choose her. They just do. She reaches into their subconscious, into that quiet longing for wholeness, not to complete them, but to reflect what's missing and invite them to remember. So, do you recognize a part of yourself in her, or are you still becoming her? At some point, you decided you had to become her, the woman who never slips, never breaks, never needs. The woman who earns love by being impressive, who keeps her guard up so she won't be left behind. Who makes herself untouchable, because being touchable felt too dangerous. And it worked. Or at least, it looked like it did. People respect you. You're praised for being ambitious, reliable, capable. But love? Love feels like a revolving door. You keep attracting men who are intrigued at first, then slowly pull away. You're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Was I too much? Or not enough? Here's a truth that's hard to swallow. In trying to become the perfect woman, you may have accidentally made yourself unreachable. Like a mountain, majestic, powerful, breathtaking, but also cold, distant, intimidating. No one dares climb it because it feels like they'll never reach the top. And if they do, will there be room to rest? That mountain metaphor is not just poetic, it's personal. Because what most people call strength in women is often just survival. You built walls, not out of pride, but out of necessity. You learned to lead, to dominate, to stay ahead. Not because you didn't want softness, but because softness was never safe. But here's where the shift begins. When power becomes a cage, it's no longer power. It's protection. And protection without connection becomes isolation. In psychology, there's a term for this: self-abandonment. It's what happens when you betray your own needs, desires, and truth just to be accepted. You silence the part of you that longs to feel, to receive, to be vulnerable, because somewhere along the way, You were taught that those things would make you lose love. But the irony? It's the very absence of those things that keeps love from ever landing. You can control a room. You can hold your own in any debate. You can lead teams, build empires, make moves. But none of that means anything if, deep down, you're starving to be seen not for what you do, but for who you are. True strength is not found in never needing anyone. It's in knowing yourself so deeply, so clearly, that you don't have to beg, chase, or prove. You just become. You stop shrinking to be likable. You stop hardening to be respected. You stop performing to be chosen. Because you finally understand the real power was never in being above others. It was in being fully yourself and trusting that the right people won't run from that. The moment you stop abandoning yourself is the moment everything begins to change. You start setting boundaries without guilt. You start softening without fear. You start receiving without shame. And love? Real love shows up not because you demanded it, but because you made space for it. That perfect woman you tried to become? She was built from other people's expectations. But the woman you're becoming now, the one who owns her softness and her strength, that woman is free. And freedom is far more magnetic than perfection. There comes a moment when your body speaks louder than your mind. When all the pushing, all the striving, all the endless effort to be more begins to wear thin. You wake up tired, not because you didn't sleep, but because you've been burning through yourself to meet an invisible standard. At first, you don't know what's missing. You just know that the version of you the world applauds doesn't feel like home anymore. So you slow down. Not because you're lazy, but because your soul is asking you to listen. Maybe it's something simple like walking in the rain. Not because you forgot your umbrella, but because you wanted to feel it. Maybe it's laughing out loud, alone in your car, at something no one else would find funny. Or maybe, for the first time in a long time, you let someone see you cry and you don't apologize for it. These moments, quiet and unpolished, are sacred. They're not about healing all at once. They're about remembering who you were before you were told who to be. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming your whole self, not the fragmented version shaped by fear, praise, or approval. It's not about rejecting the strong parts of you. It's about reclaiming the tender ones you buried to survive. The return to softness isn't weakness. It's wisdom. You stop asking, "How can I be enough?" and start asking, "What feels true to me now?" You stop chasing connection and begin inviting it. You stop filling every silence with noise and start letting your presence speak for itself. And little by little, the world responds. Not to a perfect image, but to something real. Men begin to lean in. Not because you're trying to be attractive, but because you've become available. Not just physically, emotionally, energetically. You begin to understand that your feminine essence was never gone. It was just waiting for you to stop performing and start feeling again. The world may tell you to hustle, to harden, to compete, but your body, your heart, your intuition, they speak a softer language. And when you listen to that voice, life doesn't get smaller. It gets deeper. The woman you're becoming isn't less powerful than the one you were. She's more powerful because her power comes from within. She no longer molds herself to be wanted. She embodies herself to be free. You don't need to change who you are. You need to come home to it. It's not because she's prettier. It's not because she's younger. It's not because she has the perfect career, the perfect body, or the perfect life. He chooses her because around her, he can finally breathe. You see, there comes a moment in a man's life when he's done competing, done proving, done chasing the next shiny thing. When the noise quiets and the masks start to slip, what he craves isn't perfection, it's peace, presence, the feeling of coming home. And the woman he chooses, the one he keeps, is the one who gives him that feeling. She doesn't need him to be a hero. She doesn't test him to see if he'll fight hard enough. She doesn't withhold love to control him. Instead, she creates space for him to be fully human, flawed, raw, real. And in that space, he finds something he never knew he was missing. He doesn't always understand why she captivates him. He might even resist it at first. But something inside him, something deeper than logic, feels drawn to her like gravity. This isn't chemistry, it's resonance. Because she's not trying to be chosen. She's not performing. She's not bending herself into the shape she thinks he wants. She's anchored in herself. And in doing so, she invites him to do the same. She is not the loudest woman in the room, but her energy is undeniable, because it comes from truth, not tactics. She doesn't chase. She attracts. She doesn't demand. She receives. She doesn't shrink. She softens. And here's what most people miss. Feminine presence is not about being submissive. It's about being available emotionally, spiritually, energetically. She holds herself with grace, but not with walls. Her openness is not naive, it's powerful. And that kind of presence, you can't fake it. You can't buy it. You can't hustle your way into it. You have to become it. She is the woman who has walked through her own shadow, who has stopped running from her softness. She has faced the part of herself that once said, "You're too much." And she's responded, "Then I'm not for you." She has given up the exhausting game of earning love and replaced it with something far more magnetic, being love. That is why she is unforgettable. Not because she fits a mold, but because she broke free from one. The women he leaves behind, they may be beautiful, accomplished, even deeply loving, but if they are disconnected from their own essence, if they are still chasing validation, still performing worthiness, then eventually he feels it, that subtle disconnect, that invisible wall. Because a man can feel when love comes from a place of fear. But when he meets her, the woman who isn't hiding, who isn't proving, who isn't trying to be what anyone else needs, he feels safe, seen, grounded, desired not for what he does, but for who he is. And that changes everything. You don't have to change your face, your voice, your story, or your soul to be loved like that. You just have to return to what's always been inside you. The anima, the archetype, the softness, the depth, the wholeness. The part of you that was never broken, only buried beneath layers of fear and conditioning. So let me ask you this. What would happen if you stopped hiding? If you let go of the proving, the pleasing, the perfecting, and instead, let yourself be fully felt? Because that's the woman he chooses. Not the one who fights for his attention. Not the one who shines the brightest. But the one who feels the most real. And when that woman shows up, he doesn't just choose her. He never forgets her. You were never meant to fit a mold. You were meant to break the ones that kept you small. The softness you once tried to silence. It's not your weakness. It's your wisdom. It's the part of you that knows how to feel deeply, love honestly, and live fully. And the man who's truly for you, he won't fear that energy. He won't try to tame it. He'll be drawn to it, even if he can't explain why. Because real feminine energy doesn't need to scream to be heard. It speaks in presence, in depth, in quiet strength. And when you stop hiding, when you stop reaching outside of yourself to be chosen, something powerful happens. You become the woman who doesn't chase love, she calls it in. So no, you don't need to be louder, tougher, more perfect. You just need to return to the truth of who you are. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, share it. Let someone else awaken too. And if you're ready to keep rising, subscribe. This is only the beginning.